As the village faded into the distance, swallowed by the dense cloak of the forest, the reality of our journey began to set in. The wagon trundled along the uneven path, its wheels occasionally catching on hidden roots, jostling us with a suddenness that snatched away any lingering sense of security. The forest around us seemed to close in, tall trees casting long dark shadows that danced and flickered in the sunlight filtered through the canopy. I clung to Ellie, my doll, her familiar worn texture a small comfort against the backdrop of this vast unknown world. The air was filled with the sounds of nature untamed. The distant call of birds, the rustle of leaves stirred by the wind, the occasional snap of a twig underfoot or hoof, each sound magnifying the silence we left behind. One night, as darkness wrapped around our makeshift camp, the eerie howl of wolves shattered the calm. My heart raced, and I pressed closer to my parents, their bodies a protective barrier between me and the unseen dangers lurking in the dark. My father, his face set in a mask of calm determination, stroked the fire higher, the flames casting a warm, reassuring glow. "Don't worry," he whispered, his voice steady despite the tension that knotted his shoulders. "I'll keep us safe." And though his words were meant to comfort, the fear in my mother's eyes as she held me tight spoke of the precarious thread upon which our safety balanced. That night, under a blanket of stars obscured by the canopy above, the forest nocturnal chorus a constant undercurrent to our uneasy sleep, the notion of adventure tarnished by the tangible presence of fear. Days turned into weeks, each bringing new challenges as we ventured further into the unknown. The novelty of our journey waned, replaced by the harsh realities of life on the road. Food became a constant concern, and the once exciting prospect of meals cooked over an open fire lost its charm as our supplies dwindled. My parents' faces grew thinner, the lines deeper as the weight of responsibility and the strain of constant vigilance etched themselves into their expressions. Yet, amidst the hardships, there were moments of beauty. A sunrise painting the sky in hues of pink and gold, the laughter that bubbled up when I found a frog making its home in my shoe one morning, the stories we shared huddled together for warmth. These moments, rare and fleeting, became the treasures of our journey, pearls of joy strung on a thread of hope. The path ahead remained shrouded in uncertainty, each bend in the road a question mark, each nightfall a test of endurance. But in the courage I saw in my parents' actions, in the love that encircled us like a shield, I found the strength to face every day with a sense of wonder. The world was vast, filled with both beauty and peril, and though I longed for the safety of the home we left behind, I began to understand that home wasn't just a place. It was where we were together, our hearts beating as one against the odds, our spirits undaunted by the journey into the unknown. One evening, as the shadows grew long and the air chilled, we made a camp near the edge of a dense thicket, the forest around us alive with the whispers of twilight. The fire crackled and popped, its warmth a small bubble of comfort against the encroaching cold. My parents busied themselves with preparations for the night, their faces lit by the fire's glow, a sense of serene normalcy in our world turned upside down. I, curious to see the road ahead, wandered to the fringe of our camp where the light faded into the dense tapestry of the woods. It was there in the twilight's embrace that I saw her for the first time, a slim, pale figure perched at the boundary between darkness and light. She sat perfectly still, her eyes fixed on me, a silent sentinel from a world that felt both familiar and utterly alien. Her skin was the color of moonlight on snow, her hair a tangled web of shadows and silver. I couldn't tell if she was a figment of my imagination, a ghost born of loneliness and longing, or something far more real. "Hello?" I whispered, my voice a tentative thread reaching out through the silence, but she did not respond, did not move, except for the faintest tilt of her head. Curiosity and caution mingled in her ethereal gaze. Compelled by a mix of fear and fascination, I took a step forward, only to halt as my parents' voices called me back. "Stay close, my love," my mother's voice, tinged with worry, cut through the stillness. Turning back to the girl, I found her retreating into the shadows, leaving behind a thin blue mist and a sickly sweet smell that hung in the air. That night, as I lay wrapped in my parents' arms, the image of the pale child haunted my dreams, her gaze a silent question, her existence a mystery intertwined with our own journey. Who was she, and why did she watch us from the shadows? Why, despite the fear she inspired, did I feel an inexplicable pull toward her, a thread of connection in the vast, uncharted wilderness of our new reality? In the blur of days that followed, the encounter with the pale child lingered at the edge of my consciousness, a puzzle piece in a world that no longer made sense. The forest around us began to shift, subtly at first and then more markedly, as if the very landscape conspired to lead us astray. The trees seemed to whisper secrets in a language that I couldn't understand, and the air grew thick with the scent that tugged at my memory, the same sickly sweet smell left in the wake of the mysterious girl. One morning, awoken by a gentle shaking, I found my parents looming over me, their faces obscured by the dim pre-dawn light. "We found a new place," they whispered, excitement threading through their words. "A place we can stay." but their voices sounded hollow, as if echoing from far away. Rubbing sleep from my eyes, I struggled to see their faces clearly, but the shadows clung stubbornly, painting their features in broad, indistinct strokes. Confusion clouded my mind, yet their urgency propelled me forward, out of the makeshift safety of our camp and into the waiting arms of the woods. The forest seemed to transition with each step, the oppressive gloom giving way to an explosion of color that felt both exhilarating and unnerving. Bright hues painted the sky, the trees, the very air we breathed, turning the world into a tapestry of impossible vibrancy. The heavy, damp earthiness of the forest floor was replaced by the tantalizing aroma of fresh pastries, drawing me deeper into the vibrant dream. My parents' figures flitted ahead, always just out of reach, their voices a distant melody urging me on. The surreal beauty of our surroundings was overwhelming, a stark contrast to the hardships of our journey thus far. And there, at the periphery of my vision, the pale child appeared once more, watching silently from the shadows, a ghostly guardian in this strange new world. Eager to explore and captivated by the promise of something wondrous just ahead, I followed the sounds of my parents' laughter, each step taking me further from the world I knew and deeper into the enchantment that lay before us. The air hummed with magic, the ground beneath my feet soft and yielding, as if I tread upon clouds. But the presence of the pale child, fleeting and elusive, served as a reminder that not all was as it seemed. In this place of vivid colors and sweet scents, where reality bent and twisted in the most delightful ways, the line between truth and illusion blurred, leaving me adrift in a sea of wonder and apprehension. The journey through the vibrant forest culminated in an opening that revealed a sight so mesmerizing it seemed plucked from the very stories my parents used to whisper to me under starlit skies. Before us lay a town, if it could even be called that, composed entirely of confections and pastries, buildings of gingerbread adorned with icing, streets paved with chocolate, and lampposts dripping with what looked like liquid caramel. The air was thick with the aroma of baking bread, cinnamon, and sugar, enveloping us in a blanket of warmth and hunger. My stomach growled in response, a reminder of the days spent with little more than scraps to satisfy our hunger. My parents, ahead of me, guided me through the town with a sense of wonder matching my own. "Look, my love," my mother exclaimed, pointing toward the shop made entirely of peppermint sticks, its windows gleaming with 1,000 colors. My father, with a smile that seemed both familiar and oddly distant, extended his hand, rugged and warm, leading me closer to the heart of this magical place. The temptation to explore every corner, to taste every sweet delight that caught my eye was overwhelming. Yet, even as my senses were overwhelmed with the fantastical sights and smells, a part of me remained anchored in the memory of the pale child's silent vigil. Drawn irresistibly to a shop that seemed to outshine the others, its walls crafted from layers of cake and frosting, we entered, the bell above the door tinkling like laughter. Inside, the air was rich with the scent of vanilla and chocolate, a sensory feast that made my head spin with delight. A woman, her apron dusted with flour, greeted us with a smile as warm as the oven behind her. "Welcome, dear ones," she sang out, her voice as sweet as the confections that surrounded her. "You must be famished after your journey. Please have a taste of our finest cupcake." I, letting go of my father's hand, stepped deeper into the shop. She presented a cupcake to me, its frosting a swirl of colors that seemed to dance under the shop's golden light. My fingers closed around the treat, its texture soft and promising, a dream after days of hunger. As I took a bite, the flavors exploded in my mouth. Rich chocolate, tangy strawberry, and a hint of something I couldn't quite place, a taste that beckoned with the allure of the forbidden. But before I could even savor the moment, a shout from my parents jolted me back to reality. I turned expecting them to be close, but they were nowhere to be seen. With my cupcake still in hand, I watched the shop and the entire candy town shifting before my eyes. What had seemed like a haven of sweetness and light began to warp, the vibrant colors fading, the sweet scent souring.